mindset can be one of two things. It can be our best friend and help us to perform. It can help us to move forward. It can help us to drive our performance. Or alternatively, our mindset can actually be our own worst enemy. In other words, we start to imagine a future of failure. We start to imagine everything going wrong. We start to imagine customers complaining, or, if I'm in a sales role, not buying.
The question is from Thinking Focus.
Hi, I'm Ricky from Thinking Focus.
Hi, I'm Mark from Thinking Focus.
And today the question is, how does mindset impact our performance? This podcast is the final one in our 4-part series that explores several aspects which affect the productivity of our people. So Mark, how does mindset impact our performance?
Well, I think it's fair to say that as a manager of a team or a manager of individuals, we can only do so much around those things we've talked about in the first 3 episodes in this series, around giving and establishing the knowledge, helping people acquire and develop and hone the skills required to be successful, and creating an environment which is conducive to high performance. That's our role as a manager of a team or of individuals. But fundamentally, if their mindset's not right, if they're not in a place where they are focused on doing the right things in the right way, then we start to run into that space where, well, what else can we do? So this is the real challenge piece, because you can't force people into a change of mindset. That's for them to take ownership of and do for themselves.
So, in terms of mindset, what do you think triggers that then? Because mindset can be one of two things. It can be our best friend and help us to perform. It can help us to move forward. It can help us to drive our performance. We think, helpful thoughts, ones where the world's just going to drop into place and everything will be fine. Or alternatively, our mindset can actually be our own worst enemy. In other words, we start to imagine a future of failure. We start to imagine everything going wrong. We start to imagine, customers complaining or arguing, or, if I'm in a sales role, not buying. So what kind of things will influence the way our mindset plays out and the way we think?
Well, we've talked about the term confidence quite a bit through this series, and you do, when there's a lack of confidence, people reach a point where they kind of get to saying, I'm never going to get there. And so if that's the kind of unhelpful thinking that is driving the internal narrative, that I'm never going to get there, I'm never going to be as good as X, or I'm never going to be able to influence that decision, then it actually stops people committing to doing the right things that would make them successful if they put their shoulder to the wheel.
Because of course we act in accordance with our beliefs, right? So if take sales as a great example. Lots of salespeople can quite often talk themselves out of a particular deal because, they realise there's a competitor in town, or they're already buying from a competitor, and we don't necessarily fully believe in the product or service that we're offering, and therefore we kind of go, we're half-hearted in the way that we approach it because we've already imagined failing.
Yeah, we deny that what we have to offer can make a true difference, or we deny that there's an opportunity there that no one will ever convince them to do something else. So if we've got that unhelpful thought process, it can start to drive a set of unhelpful and what I would describe as barrier beliefs that prevent you owning and doing those things that would create success and create high performance. And much of that can come from a lack of clarity on the role, and that brings us back to say, well, is there a knowledge piece we can work on there? And this confidence and beliefs piece is around potentially around their individual skills and abilities to turn that piece around. So, we can coach that's a skills element. But when we follow that through, you do reach a space where people start to imagine that future failure or not being able to get there, and it turns into an unwillingness. And I think when we talk about mindset and we talk about attitude that prevents people from being successful, it's when they drop into that space where they're no longer willing to try. And especially in the sales space, as you say, if you're not prepared to try, you'll never know. And I know that's very easy to say, but if you can't be bothered to make that call on your way past, on your way home, if you can't be bothered to drop in and see if that individual might be available to have the next conversation and move things forward, then you stop putting yourself in a place where you can perform. I often talk about sales as being like good comedy. It's all about timing. The best salespeople just learn through trial and error how to put themselves in the right situation at the right time. And it can look completely accidental, but you only do that when there is a willingness to be bothered to keep trying. And that's when, if you've not got that, then mindset is a barrier that any manager can't overcome. And we start to get into a different kind of conversation with people that are in that place.
Yeah, I think for me, managers, they overcomplicate performance, and particularly underperformance. The reality is that there's kind of three key checkpoints first. One is, have we given them the knowledge in order to perform the role? And that is, as we've talked about in the podcast on the knowledge piece, part one in this series, we talked about, have we given them the knowledge of products, services, processes, and also how the organization works? It could be as simple as, what's the code to get out the car park? What's the code to get through the front door? Or what are the access codes for online meetings, for example? But have we given them the knowledge to do the job? The second test is, do they have the skills to do that job? Have we observed them? Have we tested them? Have we seen them? Have we done the see one, do one, teach one process that gives us a sense of confidence that they are equipped to do the job? The next test, of course, is all about the environment. Have we created the conditions for success? And that's in terms of the resources, the kit, the tools, and the cultural environment for them to excel in. And once you've kind of passed those three tests from a manager's perspective, which are all things within our gift as an organization, as a manager, it kind of leaves you with, well, it's now over to the individual and go, so are you prepared to do it then? Are you willing to step up, have a go? Are you prepared to fail? Are you prepared to learn from that failure and therefore grow? Because if you're not, it don't matter how much more knowledge I give you, how much more skill development I give you. It don't matter whether I create the most conducive environment going. If you don't want to step across the game line and play, there's not a lot I can do.
Absolutely, and that's when it's become a beliefs thing, and in some circumstances it can be about individuals' core values. What is it? What is it that they see as the role, especially in the sales space? Is being a sales professional aligned to my core values? Do I see the value in the role, or do I have a negative perspective on that particular profession? And I have seen that when people come from different walks of life, maybe a clinical role or from a completely unconnected walk of life, but they never really settle. around their personal values, about what it means to be a sales professional in a positive light. And it undermines their confidence, it undermines their beliefs about whether they are the right person. And it demonstrates itself. It comes out in a behaviours, an attitude, and a mindset piece that you have to be able to diagnose that as a manager. So it is complex. We talked about several areas. You need to be able to work your way through the knowledge, the skills, the environment, the tools and resources, and once you've done that, then you come to a place where you're saying, right, am I now dealing with something different?
My mantra when I was in management and leadership roles was always, can I look myself in the mirror and say I've done everything to help this person perform, i.e. knowledge, skills, environment, or is it down to them? And often, if you have that conversation in that way, they'll go, yeah, there's nothing much more you can do. In fact, I've had the unfortunate situation of having to let people go. And at the end of it, they've gone, thank you, because they realise we've done everything we can to help them perform, only for them just to kind of not want it enough. And they feel relieved because at least you've demonstrated that you've given them every chance to succeed. And it's on them then.
And the people who do that the best, and you do see this, and I've seen it several times, is where a manager can take someone on that journey and they make a constructive, positive decision to say, do you know what, this isn't the right role or the right industry or the right space for me. I need to go back to or try something different, and they make a positive decision themselves as the employee in that situation, and that's the best place to end up for something like this, because it has been a constructive and positive decision of the individual.
But I think the watch out for a manager is, if you're not coaching them, if you're not developing them and supporting them and are close to your people, they will drift. They will, their performance will either never reach the heights that you want or expect it to, or it will decline quickly over time because the heart's just not in it. And there are two things here. One is there a willful willingness or lack of willingness to do the job? Or is it, I'm just in the wrong place and I'm trying to do my best. I don't want to let you down. But actually, when we all look in the mirror, we realize we're in the wrong job. We're in the wrong role. Doesn't make anybody a bad person, but actually, their mindset will never free them up to perform to their best because they just don't believe in themselves.
So I think we kind of quite quickly coming to two or three particular areas that when we're looking at underperformance as managers, that there are several things that we need to do. There's almost kind of a process to go through in order to work through this piece as a constructive dialogue with the people involved. And I think, you've summed it up already, Ricky, but that first thing that we need to be able to do as managers is identify genuine reasons for underperformance and address them. Is there a knowledge gap? Is it skills gaps that we need to hone and develop through coaching? Are there some environmental conditions or broken processes that are preventing performance? And if we can identify that and fill those gaps, then that's the first thing we need to do at any stage.
Absolutely agree. And I think that then leads to the next bit is then to surface. And you described them as reasons, and I totally concur with that. The second element is going, so what are the excuses then? So what are the things that we are choosing not to do that are getting in our way that are on us as individuals? In other words, we've provided everything we think you need to do the job. Now it's up to you. So what's stopping you? Because we've given you the knowledge, we've given you the skills, or we've developed the skills for you, with you. We've created the conditions for you to perform within, fixed any broken processes, provided the right kit tools. So what else do you need? because there isn't anywhere else for them to go. It's on them.
Absolutely.
We can't do any more for them.
And once you're into that conversation, what you should be able to identify together from those, what are not reasons but excuses as you describe them, are those things that are within the individual's control that they can do something about. And if we identify those things that are controllables, that are within their gift, then any of those, we'll use that word excuses, that are part of their unhelpful thinking, we need to help them reframe them. Okay, so how do we help them reframe that unhelpful thinking and those unhelpful beliefs that are stopping them delivering on their true potential, and transform them into helpful solution-focused questions? If we can do that, then there's an opportunity to turn the mindset around and deliver the performance that we're looking for and free that person up within the role. If that is not something they are willing to do, then we get into that separate conversation.
Totally agree. And I think the importance, as you describe it, of helpful, solution-focused questions is really important, because whilst you can't force anybody to change their mindset, what you can do is cause them to think differently. And it's with high impact questions that cause us to think. That is part of the journey to move them from I can't to I can, or not necessarily I can, but I could. And I think questions carefully crafted will help people to move their mindset into one that's more solution, outcome, the desired outcome in the end result that we're looking for.
Absolutely. And that is entirely within the individual's gift then to make a decision about what are they willing to do with the output. If we can help them resolve those unhelpful thoughts, turn them into helpful solution-focused questions that allow them to explore the things within their control, then that provides them with the opportunity to adopt a mindset in which they can perform within that particular space.
So, identify what are genuine reasons and close knowledge gaps, skills gaps, and create conditions for them to perform within. Surface the excuses and deal with them. Get the individual to confront what are actually excuses and holding them back, and then reframe any unhelpful thoughts into more helpful, solution-focused questions that deliver desired outcomes.
To find out how Thinking Focus can unlock the potential within your organization, go to www.thinkingfocus.com, where you'll discover more about the work we do, helping our clients increase productivity and enable change.